I got a call from Bernie Bernstein of the Washington Post, offering me $300 to keep writing this feature. I was caught off guard and blurted that I would probably still write it even without the money. I really regret that, but I'm thankful this week that we're at 10 months out of 48 and we haven't yet all died in a nuclear war. Since 2017, Republic Report's Trump Terrible 10 has ranked the week's 10 most disgraceful figures in Trump world. Republic Report, which focuses on how money corrupts democracy, has met its abuse of dream mate with the kleptocratic administration of President Donald J. Trump. Trump and his lieutenants personify how money and greed, mixed with disrespect for constitutional values, know-nothing ignorance, serious bigotry, and an endless capacity for lying, can really corrupt democracy. Permanent spoiler alert: we can't imagine anyone other than Donald Trump ever occupying the top spot in the rankings. But we won't get tired of him winning. Believe me. 10. Donald Trump Jr., Executive Vice President of Development and Acquisitions, the Trump Organization. The last week's ranking 9 dad's decision to loosen restrictions on the import of elephant parts from Zimbabwe and Zambia gives wild tweeter collusion attempter Don Jr. time to kill before he goes to prison. 9. Stephen Bannon, Executive Chairman, Breitbart, and former Chief Strategist to the President. Last week's ranking 8, he must so proud of Roy Moore. Update: 111,817 Sheldon Adelson and even patrons the Mercers are walking away from Bannon's bigoted, incompetent, Moore-tainted vanity project. 8. Scott Pruitt, Environmental Protection Agency Administrator. The last week's ranking 6 weirdo climate change deniers may mimic Pruitt and complain behind closed doors that he's not sufficiently hardcore, but the EPA director's real patrons, big oil, gas, coal, and chemical companies, are plenty satisfied with his wholesale abandonment of environmental protections. 7. Betsy DeVos, Secretary of Education. The last week's ranking 7 at the opening session of a series of public meetings to dismantle protections for students and taxpayers against crooked for-profit colleges, it was clear that the DeVos department has stacked the deck, loading up the panel with people tied to for-profit schools, including some of the worst actors in the industry, limiting discussions to the parameters of shockingly one-sided issue papers drafted by her team and refusing to allow attendees to record the event. 5. 6. Stephen Mnuchin, Secretary of the Treasury, and Louise Linton, First Lady of Money. The last week's ranking what's next for the entitled duo. Will Louise demand that Steve's face go on the money, or her face adorable, deplorable, shameless? 3. 4. Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader, and Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House. The last week's ranking 2. 3. The GOP is now entirely a pay-to-play operation, and one that counts on the American people not to notice. Exhibit A: tax reform bill that mostly involves the transfer of money from the middle class to the ultra-rich. 2. Jared Kushner, Senior Advisor to the President. The last week's ranking: how many times can one dog eat your homework? Is it even physically possible to leave so much information out of your federal disclosure forms and responses to investigators? Once again, kudos to Jared's award-winning ethics lawyer, Jamie Gorelick. Also, Prince Jared, you now own the ongoing horror in Saudi Arabia. Nice work. 1. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. The last week's ranking: Trump has attacked Bill Clinton, Harvey Weinstein, and now Al Franken over UAL abuse charges, but his only response to the 16 women who have asserted that he abused them just as he bragged to Billy Bush that he abused them has been to call them all liars and threaten to sue. That makes Trump the Roy Moore of the East, except much worse. Although Trump has repeatedly insisted that he has little time to TV, he tweeted this week, "While in the Philippines I was forced to at CNN, which I have not done in months, and again realized how bad and fake it is." Loser: since Trump has little time to TV, I guess he did not mean he was forced to CNN because there was nothing else on TV. He must mean that he was forced at gunpoint to by President Duterte's men. They are tough. People of goodwill hoped that, in the holiday spirit, Trump would apologize to Marco Rubio for calling him a choke artist after Trump found out this week how hard it is to locate, open, and drink from a bottle of water. Not yet. Meanwhile, as taxpayers are paying for Justice Department lawyers to defend Trump's troubling, illegal insistence on continuing to earn big money from his businesses while he's president. Trump is again number 1, the most disgraceful figure in the Trump administration. Trump is not merely a disgrace, he's a total and complete disgrace. Vintage disgracefulness, Trump Team disgracefulness power rankings, total and complete vindication edition, Trump Team disgracefulness power rankings, cabinet of sycophants edition, Trump Team disgracefulness power rankings, secret tapes cliffhanger edition, Trump Team disgracefulness power rankings, WASNT very stupid thread edition, Trump Team disgracefulness power rankings, pro wrestling edition, Trump Team disgracefulness power rankings, family edition, Trump terrible 10, made in China edition, Trump terrible 10, much improved edition, Trump terrible 10, transgender fake news, Amazon Boy Scout very unfair leaker edition, Trump terrible 10, Statue of Liberty law of the land edition, Trump terrible 10, racist scum edition, Trump terrible 10, adorable Kentucky Day trip edition, Trump terrible 10, Arpaio impunity edition, Trump terrible 10, Harvey edition, Trump terrible 10, Apocalypse Now edition, Trump terrible 10, ESPN European honeymoon idiot edition, Trump terrible 10, Rocket Man golf strike BLT steak edition, Trump terrible 10, pro sports nuclear war edition, Trump terrible 10, frequent layer edition, Trump terrible 10, great job a moron edition, Trump terrible 10, adult daycare edition, Trump terrible 10, self-imposed national crisis edition, Trump terrible 10, total and complete disgrace edition, Trump terrible 10, Manafort indictment edition, Trump terrible 10, always Russian edition, Trump terrible 10, big old fat man edition. This article also appears on Republic Report. Download. Do you have information you want to share with HuffPost? Here's how.